The QPR podcast is in association with 101greatgoals.com. For post-match Premier League press conferences, FIFA 15 videos, freestyle clips and much more, subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/101greatgoalsyt.
QPR, QPR, Christmas Rangers are on the up and up. QPR, QPR, now we're heading.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the QPR podcast. Thanks for subscribing to us on QPR Pod on Twitter, QPRPod.co.uk, QPR Pod on Facebook, and you can also hear us on IndieRs and on another website, not quite as classy, Lost for Words. There's a few plugs on there as well. Is that right, Clive? Who's again joining us this week as a special guest?
Yeah, much to the delight of the 606 message board, I'm sure.
And .org. And .net.
Yeah.
Did we forget anyone else?
No.
Okay. And we've also got with us, and it's great to have Chris Mendes back.
Hello.
I almost forgot that you exist.
I was on holiday.
Did you have a nice time?
Yeah, it was quite nice.
Did you look at the results while you were away?
I watched the Spurs game while I was away, actually.
Oh, dear.
How did it look on TV?
Not great. We were a bit unlucky, I thought. Definite penalty for the handball. But when it wasn't great, I didn't think.
That was last week.
I was at the Arsenal game and I kind of resigned myself to our fate then.
We're going to go into that in a second.
Yeah.
Don't jump before everyone turns off. And of course, Chris Charles is back. How are you, Chris? Are you keeping well?
I'm keeping well. I'm slightly under the weather, but you know.
I feel so sorry for Chris because Chris' day job means that he had to watch the QPR game, BT Sport, and actually work at the same. Lord of mothers. There's a guy climbing over tables while I was doing the podcast. But yeah, you were working while you were actually watching the game. So
yeah,
what was that like? Is that a bit weird?
It is a bit weird. It's slightly weird for all the other people who had to work with me, that's for sure, because I was going through the whole gamut of emotions. I hate watching this on the telly at the best of times. I much prefer being there because at least you can moan with a few thousand like-minded souls and get it out of your system a bit. But yeah, I was having to write a glowing match report for how great Crystal Palace were.
Oh.
Download Alan Pardew's long and smug interview, and yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't my finest day. But there you go.
Also this week, I'm going to introduce you not in your daytime rules where you sit in the ground. So Chris, you're lower loft.
Yeah.
Chris, you
Ellerslie Road.
And you're near me, aren't you?
In front of F Block, yeah.
And I'm G Block, Suffolk Road.
So you pay less.
Does that surprise you?
No, it annoys me.
Anyway, so yeah. So I thought of how we're going to do this tonight. I thought of how we, do we bare our souls? Do we go through the whole thing? So what we should do is try and think of 3 reasons why we think we could be in trouble. 3 reasons why we're in the position we're in.
Only 3?
Yeah, and 3 reasons why we're going to get out of it. Starting with you, Chris.
With me? Okay. Well, 3 reasons why we're in trouble. Harry Redknapp is one. I mean, it goes, probably goes beyond Redknapp. I don't know. All this starstruck stuff from the chairman of like hiring Redknapp in the first place, I guess, and then getting all these big name players on ridiculous salaries. I mean, it's all been done to death. We know all that. Sean Wright-Phillips, I'm sure we'll come on to him later, but and a few others we can mention who are going to be out of contract in the summer. For most of those, I think the sooner we get rid of them, the better. Sorry, you said 3, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm again. I was going to come on to this later, but I think for the whole season we've been, playing, putting square pegs in round holes. I know I've said this a few times, and although the new manager has tried, to his credit, to sort of unravel that a little and put round pegs in round holes, we've gone back to a situation where Matt Phillips, who's probably a sister extraordinaire, I think, assisted three goals in 2 games, has now been shunted out on the left in favour so we could accommodate Sean Wright-Phillips. And yeah, God, I said I could talk on forever about this, but I'm struggling now to actually formulate all the reasons in words.
We'll break it down then. We'll do a 3 where we're in trouble, and then we'll come back to each other. We'll do the 3 as we go gradually up. It's only an idea. We don't have to stick to it. In fact, let's go guerrilla style and just talk absolute crap like I normally do. Except we can't swear in this podcast anymore.
Right.
Got to remember that.
Okay.
Clive, your 3 reasons of why we're in the situation we're in. And please, can you remember we've got to go to work in the morning?
You said that you said we can't swear on the new podcast, and then turn to me immediately and ask why we're in trouble. I think that's very unfair.
I think you can be creative with your language.
Okay, well, one reason really is the chairman. It all comes back to the chairman.
What about German swear words?
Scheiße.
Is that allowed?
Carry on. If I can't spell it, I can't be aggrieved by it.
Okay.
Carry on.
German swearing it is then. No, yeah, the chairman. So it's simple as.
Really?
Yeah, because all of the reasons that we're where we are come back to Fernandes. His poor managerial appointments, his transfer policy, his money at the end of the day. So, he's paid for his mistakes, or at least we hope he's paid for his mistakes. And the debt that is still leveraged against the club isn't retrieved in ways that would damage us in the future. But it's his fault. Yeah, people wanted to blame Mark Hughes, but Mark Hughes has done a good job at other clubs. And people wanted to blame Harry Redknapp, but he didn't do a lot different to the guy that was there previously. It seems whoever manages us and plays for us does a lot worse than they did when they managed and played elsewhere. So what's the running theme here? It's the chairman. It's not Phil Beard or Harry Redknapp or Mark Hughes. However many mistakes they made, it's the chairman. It's the way he's running it.
Well, I would argue. Sorry, Chris.
No.
You come in. Sorry, Chris. Come in.
No, that was sort of what I was trying to articulate earlier. All these players on long contracts, blah blah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the chairman who's sanctioned all those. So I would concur with that.
The only thing I still struggle with, at this point in the season, was all the talk about Remy at the start of the season and how he was going to stay. And the only 2 people who actually believed he was ever going to stay was Redknapp and Tony Fernandes, because everyone else I talked to who was a QPR fan knew that player was going as soon as a decent bid came in for him.
So I don't even think Redknapp believed he was going to stay, honestly.
So you think
Redknapp knows how the game works.
So without swearing, that's just a bullshit remark.
Like Clive says, Tony Fernandes doesn't know how to run a football club, and that's quite apparent now, because it doesn't matter who's in charge, and they always struggle because there isn't a structure there for a manager to succeed. And if you don't know how to run a football club, then you have to surround yourself with people who do know how to do it and just give them money. And that doesn't mean getting a manager in, because you need someone in between the guy who's pumping money in, if he doesn't know how to run a club, and the manager to kind of like direct him and push him in the right direction. And we haven't had that. We had Phil Beard, who has no history with football. He's gone now, and someone else has come in who doesn't have any experience in football. He worked in Formula One, and that was a big failure as well.
Point number 2, Clive.
No, I'll put all 3 points. The chairman, like I say, because whatever point you make will come back to him. It will be
okay. Somebody the decision's made. From
what about you, Paul?
Oh God, no one ever asks me questions. I'm just a dumb Irish guy that sits here every week. I think we should have sacked Redknapp after West Ham away. Personally, I think that the contracts we signed a lot of the players on are ridiculous. A decent CEO would never have done the deals that we've done. And we went after names rather than players. So it was almost like a real-life football manager scenario where people were just like, oh, he's decent. I mean, even Fernandes, it's going back to Tony Fernandes, did say that the reason when we signed Remy, because his ratings were good in FIFA, if I remember rightly. So there's lots of things like that. You can't fault their enthusiasm. No one's ever invested in QPR the way that we have. But my second point was, for the money that we're in debt and for the lack of infrastructure, it's actually frightening what we've spent and what we've got to show for it, because it's incredibly bad value for money.
Well, we've got nothing, have we? When they arrived, we were a newly promoted team with a poor starting 11, trying to stay in the Premier League. No training ground, no real youth setup, no scouting, and we're still that 160 million quid, and however many years later, so. It's not even poor value for money. It's just tossing money away. And like I say, as long as it's their money, that's fine. I thought our signings in the summer weren't actually that bad.
No.
Okay. And they were different to the kinds of signings we'd made before. Rio Ferdinand apart, which was just a typical QPR signing. My point is that these players like Jordan Much, Stephen Colker, they play well at other clubs and will go and play well again. We've let players go that were rubbish here who've gone and played well elsewhere. What is it about QPR that makes these managers come in and perform badly, and these players come in and perform way below what they were doing before? I mean, Colker at Hull and again on Saturday is just an absolute shadow of the player that played for Swansea, Tottenham, Cardiff last year. Even Cardiff got relegated and he was better there. What is it about QPR? And it's not about, who's going to be the next manager? We need to make more signings. I've seen people say, we should have made more January signings. Well, we made signings in every transfer window and it never makes us any better.
Well, see, that's the other point. We kind of changed tact halfway through the season, which I've never seen done at any club really before, from being kind of like buying to like, no, we're going youth. Everything's youth. And you kind of think, well, that's a great idea. At this time, fighting a relegation battle, it's possibly suicide. And the kids are getting hung out to dry a wee bit. I mean, on Saturday, Furlong again didn't have enough support because Sean Wright-Phillips was ahead of him. So everything that was coming straight at the poor lad game after game. Well,
Yannick Bolassi's come out today and he said, I purposely targeted him because I saw his last 2 games. I was told by the Crystal Palace management that he struggled a little bit, and I purposely targeted him. So you'd expect him to have, if he is going to play, to have a bit more support in front of him.
I thought it was very unfair to pick Sean. I don't think it was unfair to pick him because that's what we want to see, and I think Furlong will be a good player next season for this experience he's having now. But I thought it was grossly unfair to have that toad in front of him. I mean,
oh wow, okay.
I mean, it's like starting with 10 anyway. But I mean, Sean Wright-Phillips obviously isn't that bothered about playing for QPR, and that's fine. I think we've all long accepted that. But for him to offer that little protection and effort to a youth teamer behind him, I think he should be ashamed of that.
It's a strange one because on Saturday, because you got to go to the game, you got to work, and I didn't get to go because I was working because it was Mother's Day weekend, so I was out delivering and doing all that sort of thing. And I didn't actually see the team until I got to the pub. And a mate texted me and went, have you seen the team? And stupidly, I should have ignored him and said nothing. But went straight into Twitter, looked at it and saw that, and I thought, gee, and your heart sinks a wee bit. And that's not fair. Maybe it's me I thought, this is either going to be Sunderland game where you look at the team and think, this could go either way. But then to lose that badly against a Palace side that aren't actually that, didn't try that hard. I wouldn't say they're not that good because obviously they scored 3 past us, but each goal was avoidable. There's no 2 ways about it. And
well, it's a Palace side that hadn't won at home, I think, for 5 games since January. It was a Palace side where their second scorer hadn't scored for 98 games. I mean, we're well known now for, if what's his name from Watford who'd never scored.
Lloyd Doyley.
Yeah,
John
I mean,
Jensen,
if there's a bad run that needs ending, then QPR's the team to play.
Palace's home record before that game on Saturday was the only team that had the worst record was Leicester. They'd only won 3 home games. They'd lost 7. No one in the Premier League has lost 7 home games. So, but it comes back to. I'll just keep going back to my original point, which will frustrate and annoy everybody and kill your audience. But
that's my job.
But Palace are such a basic team, but they earn the right to play because they've got a very physical, basic centre midfield. Like it's nasty. Like Ledley, MacArthur, and Jedinak's usually there. That is massive. They've got Delaney, another player who played badly for QPR but is now playing well for somebody else.
Do you think we would have picked up any points in the last 3 games if Barton was in the team?
No, because I don't remember us picking up a great deal of points with him in the team.
Well, I think the thing to say about Barton is, and he came out and they asked him on TV at the weekend, will you be back in the team? And he said yes, because the way they've been playing so badly that he's very bullish about it. And yeah, I should.
Really?
I should be back in the team. Which I mean, the fact is, what he didn't say was, they might have been playing badly, and that might have something to do with the fact that I got sent off for smacking someone in the gonads unnecessarily. But what I think we do miss with Barton, I don't think we miss the Hollywood passing but there didn't seem to be any drive throughout the team. There was
Sandro looked really unfit.
There was no. It all seemed very lackluster. They were almost like scared of their own shadows, and it was. I don't know. It was the most sort of depressing thing to sit and watch since probably West Ham when we walked that 15 miles, to the game. And
at least it was half drunk.
They're not playing like a teteam anymore. They were a few weeks ago. I don't think they're playing like a team anymore who believe they've got a chance of staying up. If the game on Saturday was the last game of the season and you had to stay up, I think they would have approached the game a bit differently.
See, my fear on Saturday, watch it in a pub in Barnet, I'm paying £4 a pint in Barnet, which is ridiculous, by the way, landlord, is it was almost pre-season friendly, like, in some ways, because they weren't overstretching it. They weren't trying. They were just doing what you expect any football team to do. That you expect the manager to be prepared for that. This is what they're going to do. They're going to come run down here. Punchin's going to do this. He's going to do that. Blah blah blah. And we just seemed like rabbits in the headlights at times.
Wasn't it like every other London derby we've had in the Premier
Well,
League?
that's another point. That's another point. Yeah,
and
of course.
it's because Palace, like I said, they earn the right to play. They have a solid base and they have 2 quick wingers and they earn the right to play and they get set in a game and then they go and play. We turn up on Saturday with that team just like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to work it in here and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. We don't earn the... It's like, we're not a Premier League club, are we? And we're certainly not a Premier League team.
There didn't seem to be any plan, or if there was, we certainly weren't able to execute it. Which is a shame because against Sunderland, for once this season, we looked as if we did have a plan, and we had Phillips on the right, which is where he should play. And funnily enough, there he is. He's banging in the crosses. Yeah. Okay, it was unfortunate to lose Ferrer, and we have been, pardon the pun, hamstrung by a lot of injuries. But I don't know. Since then, and the people who are moaning about Ramsey now. I mean, it seemed to me that most QPR fans were up for giving him the job for the rest of the season. But
I don't think you blame the manager. You can't.
No, I'm just saying. But I do find some of his decisions since then, like shunting Phillips back out to the back to the left,
playing Phillips on the left. I find a wild
extraordinary.
Decision.
If you at half time,
panic.
He would have changed his mind about the starting lineup. At least one, maybe 2 players that after he'd seen probably about 20 minutes of that game.
Well, at least switch. If you're going to stick with Wright Phillips, at least switch them over. And see if they. I don't know.
That said, even when all those other players were fit, we have tried a lot of different
things.
We're not very good at the end of the day, so it's not like there's some great answer in our squad.
That's the thing. I mean, people. Obviously, Tim Sherwood. Villa have got what they've won 3 on the bounce now, 2 in the league, 1 in the cup, and so the whole Tim Sherwood thing coming out. And yes, you are looking at that, and you're thinking, maybe he would have come along and maybe he would have made a difference. But what the difference is that he said that he looked at the team after a couple of games and realised they needed, instead of like just sitting back like they had done before, they needed to utilise the pace. But I mean, we haven't got the pace and we haven't got the same quality of players Villa have got. You look at Villa's players and they should never be in that position in the first place. I mean,
that's what I said last week. They've got better players than we have.
Yeah.
It's tough to judge it. But the thing that gets me is that Charlie Austin is trying to do... If you notice, we said it last week, he's cleared the ball. Last week, he was trying to pass... Or Saturday, he was trying to pass the ball to himself. He was out in the wing and then passing the ball. And there's no... It's kind of like... It's just soul-destroying because my second point... And actually, scrap all this plus and minus things. It's not working. But the thing is that what really upsets me is that you had May, which we all agree was one of the best. That our generation didn't have a Wembley win. The 67 generation had a Wembley win. We haven't had that. So we've now got something to pass on down the others. But then immediately afterwards comes this thing of being in the Premier League. And this is another question. Is it worth getting beat week in, week out? The wins are just so high, but every week we're losing. And it's soul destroying. Do we prefer that? Let's be honest, are we a championship club masquerading in the Premiership and spending loads of money when we're not having a good time?
Only because of the way we're run. When you get promoted to the championship, there's always that bit of hope that you're going to, the next season is going to be quite good. And when we did get promoted last season, we weren't thinking, it's going to be terrible because we're going to lose every week. You kind of think, maybe we'll do things differently this week, but it's this year. And but it hasn't been like that. We've got 3 points less than we did when we got relegated, when we had that terrible team spirit and terrible team in 2012. 13, and the way we're playing at the moment, we'll do well to get 3 points between now and the end of the season.
But I think there's maybe 10 clubs who aren't Premier League clubs in the Premier League. If you want to go down,
it's a rubbish league this year.
If you relegated 10 teams, I mean, how many of them are guaranteed to come straight back up and win the Championship by 15 points? I think the Premier League, there's 3 leagues. You've got the teams fighting out for the top 6, top 8 places. You've got the 4 or 5 teams who fill the middle berths, and then the rest of them are just also rans almost,
To take your point, you would gladly have had the last 18 months that Palace have had at QPR, and you'd have their team. Getting promoted to the Premier League doesn't necessarily need to be here's 50 quid a week on tickets and we're going to get beat every week. You can do it properly. If you actually are properly run and do it properly, I would gladly take what's happened to Palace over, and they won the playoffs as well. It's not like they won they won the title. I looked at that Palace team on Saturday. I was like, what's unattainable about this?
West Ham went up through the playoffs a couple of seasons ago.
Okay, so here's a scenario. Tony Fernandes phones us all up. He's bored. He wants help. And he offers us a CEO role. Chris, how do you change it?
Well, I wouldn't. That's not my job. I'm not. I wouldn't pretend.
Well,
to be
friggin'
CEO.
Philip Bay can do it. Anyone can do it.
CEO.
Yeah, well,
I'd get someone in. I'd get someone
What's
in.
the answers, basically?
I'd get someone in to replace me as CEO straight away. Who has experience in running football clubs. I don't know, someone like David Dean or someone else who just knows the game. And
Mark Devlin, who used to work at QPR, he's now did a decent job
at Brentford. Yeah, someone like that. Just surround yourself with people and just kind of, I don't know what it is with Fernandes, whether he has to seem like
Step
the
away a
person
bit.
making, just step away a bit, give someone else the powers to make decisions that matter in football terms and let it go from there.
Well, I can't wave a magic wand, and I think this season is. I mean, last week my glass was just about half full, and I'm generally a positive person, but I think the way we capitulated this week, I'd be very, very surprised if we stay up. So I don't know, barring a miracle, I don't think there's a lot even a new CEO could do if he came in now, could do between now and the end of the season, because he's only got the players you can work with. But
the problem is, employing Philip Beard as a CEO, Fernandes didn't have, in his head, he didn't think, this guy's going to help the football structure of the club, did he? In his head, he thought, this is the guy who's going to sort everything else aside from the football pitch. It was kind of like a secondary thing for him, wasn't it? He just thought that would look after itself.
That's true. I mean, the only sort of green shoots that are coming up, that with Ferdinand in place and with Ramsey in whatever role he stays in next year. I mean, the general, I know you said you've sort of changed ships in midstream or whatever, but it seems to be that Fernandes' latest plan is to go for the youth and to stop this sort of culture of bringing in players on 80 grand a week on 4-year contracts. So, if and when we do go down, I hope they continue to employ that strategy. And then we see where it goes from there. But obviously the glaring error in all that is that we don't really seem to have the setup in terms of training ground, in terms of scouting, in terms of youth. I mean, that's all things that need to be addressed. And, I don't think you're looking at one season to do that and then miraculously we come up with a squad of fantastic under-23s next season. I mean, I hope we do, but...
That's not going to happen today. Clive?
Well, they've done what they should have done a long time ago. As a football person guiding the football side of it, it's Les Ferdinand, and whether he does a good job or not, God, we hope he does.
He's also the best human shield possible.
In truth, yes. And the focus on youth and the talk about scouting and all of that, if that is what they're going to do, then that's great. I have my suspicions that it's something that they read on Twitter that they knew would be popular and would distract criticism for a few more months. But hopefully that is what they're going to do, because that is what we need. But that's not a short road. And you're talking about, what's going to happen between now and the end of the season? Well, it's going to get worse. It's probably going to get worse next season as well, because there aren't 20 brilliant kids or 20 lower league players that we can go and buy. It's going to take ages to get there.
I'd rather stay in the Championship next season, not get promoted straight away, if it means that the following season, if we'll mount a chance to go up with a squad better capable to stay in the Premier League the season after.
It's interesting because I read on Twitter today, through various debates I was having with people as well, that Burnley have said that, I don't know if you've seen this, Chris, Burnley have said that they're going to invest, you might say it as well, Clive, in the training ground, because that's where the players work every day, and that's far more important than even the actual ground where they go in the week. And I sometimes think that we're now working backwards a bit. So I think this relegation, if I'm being honest, is not needed, because the fans can't. 3 relegations, all these relegations, it takes its toll on the fan base, it takes its toll on kids, because you get laughed at again. Kids are going to school to get, whereas May, everyone's bumping, they're ready for it, they're going for it. Again, come this end of the season, we're probably going to go down again, and we're going to have to rebuild. So I think the club's going to have to be really brave. The club's going to have to really, really think that, do a Southampton, maybe even go to League One perhaps, and then just get a plan and just frigging go with it. No matter what happens, don't get off that road, stay on that road.
The club we look at, that I think we look like at the moment, is Wolves when they went down.
Thank God you didn't say Portsmouth.
Even with the almost exactly the same time of season, the replacement of an experienced manager with his assistant or one of his coaches, and they dropped through 2 divisions, but they're actually a lot stronger now, and they've got a good manager in Kenny Jackett. So what I'm saying is, this, if that is what they're going to do, this is going to get worse before it gets better. It's not going to turn around. And I remember people would say, "Oh, Harry Redknapp puts square pegs in round holes," and it's always a senior player, never a youth player. And then what are we 5 games into this new thing, and people are saying, "Well, I would have played Carl Henry at right back on Saturday." And not Darnell. Well, isn't that what Redknapp was getting pelted? So if we're going to do it, it's going to be a hell of a long road, and it's going to be bad.
But that's frustration, though, as well, in some respects, because no one knows the answers. We're sitting here tonight. We're trying to actually talk about it, going through it. No one knows. And also the big elephant in the room, but it's not actually a big elephant. Is the financial fair play. We tried to avoid the sanctions by writing off debt, and it looks like that's not going to do the job either. So you're 200-odd million in debt, then you're going to get whacked by the fair play thing as well for 50 million. How deep are the pockets?
Well, I'd be 2 things. I'd be interested by that financial fair play, because what are the regulations there to do? Are they there to level the playing field? In which case it doesn't, because it just makes Manchester United and Chelsea and that lot streak off. Or is it there to stop clubs being laden with debt? Because if that's the intention, then an owner saying, "Well, I'm writing off £60 million of debt," is exactly what the rule is there for. So it depends, what it's there for. My second point is, if you actually want the answer is that they should write off the whole lot, which is easy for me to say because it's not my 160 million quid, and sell it. Because the way they're running it, all that's going to happen is they're going to keep losing money. They are going to keep hemorrhaging money the way we're going. The way they've run it, since they've come in, every year they've lost, £60 million on average a season, and they're going to keep losing it the way they run it. So if you say Tony Fernandes is here, give him advice, I'd say cut your losses now, sell it, write the debt off and sell it.
This week's podcast is brought to you by Wilkinson Sword. Chris,
I agree. That's a good piece of advice, and especially if obviously you have to have someone capable of coming in with a fair bit of financial backing with a clear direction. But I don't think he will. I don't think that's something he'll do, because he's still. He may not see himself making money football terms around the corner, but he still has ambitions to do it elsewhere with the stadium, and I just think he's going to cling on to that in the years to come.
Well, that's right. I mean, you're not going to make a lot of money in the Premier League on 18,000 maximum gates, and everyone knows that. But I just wanted to. I know we've been talking about this for a while, but I just wanted to come back on the football side a little bit. I just think with Furlong, he was given a torrid time by Sanchez against Arsenal, and basically Sanchez would do that to anyone. He's one of the best players in the world, so you can't blame him for that. But I personally, I think he should have been maybe taken out the firing line for a little bit. Because as you said, he was targeted. I don't think it was his fault. Like I said, he had Sean Wright for him, so he wasn't given much protection. So maybe that was more the error. But I think at this stage of the season, I think it's a little bit unfair to just plunge him straight back in again and expect him to.
That was the error,
miracles.
because when Isla came on against Arsenal, it was fine, wasn't it? He was just in front of him, giving him a lot more protection. But having Isla in front of you and Sean Wright-Phillips in front of you is completely different.
And there lies an interesting question. What is wrong with Chileans? Why are they not playing?
Well, I think Isla's injured and has been carrying an injury for some time. Okay. Even in the games he's played, he's been limping in the second half. Vargas...
He doesn't like Vargas, does he?
He doesn't like Vargas. Again, I often refer back to Dave Mack's tweets, because he's got the inside track, but he strongly hinted the Vargas and Zarate situation. I think Zarate's actually gone back to West Ham.
Yeah.
I read that.
Dave Mack has strongly hinted that if you're not doing it in training, you won't be considered. And we've all heard what an immaculate trainer Sean Wright-Phillips is.
I'd be an immaculate trainer. I'm
for
so bold.
£60,000 a week, I'd train like a demon. But,
yeah.
I'd be like that for Christie.
It's been strongly suggested that Vargas doesn't do well in training. But as we said last week, I think me and you said, we have never once used Vargas in the position he plays and scores regularly for Chile.
Exactly. I mean, if he's not playing, then we should be told maybe why he's not playing, because we're sort of, as fans who pay the money, who pay our 20 quid, as Briatore said, we're sort of left in limbo a bit because people think, is he injured? Is he? I mean, we're gleaning this bit of information, but I mean, I personally think we've got like you say, a Chilean national striker
who we've never played as
a striker, and with Ramsey's penchant and to be admired, playing people where they should be played. I mean, okay, if he's had a fallout, then fair enough. But as fans, we're just looking, thinking, why isn't he playing?
The problem with Wright Phillips, he might train really well, but I don't think he has the intelligence to motivate himself for a Premier League game anymore.
I just don't.
I think he's here as a pension top up, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think he knows that if he slacks off in training or doesn't turn up for training or whatever, then he'd be in breach of contract and the club don't need a second invitation to get rid of him. But he will come every day and he'll be on time and he'll run around the training pitch and do everything that's asked of him, and he will not go out on loan, and he doesn't want to play. But he'll do well in training because otherwise he'd be in breach of contract.
But equally, I mean, to be fair to him, I suppose it's my thing about bullying. I think he was trying. He seemed to be trying at the weekend, but I just don't think he's good enough anymore.
Do you think he did?
Well,
really?
Okay.
As I said, you've got a kid behind you who obviously after 10 and 15 minutes of that game was having a torrid time.
Yeah.
Get round him. Get back there.
Yeah.
Just help him out. Play second right back almost. Get an arm around. Talk to him. Just get close to him. Wright Phillips did as much for Darnell Furlong on Saturday as I did.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's a fair point. I'm just trying to sort of get some sort of balance in here, but yeah, maybe there isn't any balance to be found.
I don't think there is in that in relation to him, because you talk about trying, and whether you think he was trying, he maybe tried when the ball came near him, but Darnell Furlong needed help.
Yeah.
He needed help on Saturday. And Wright Phillips, like I say, he may as well have been sat with me.
I think he will be a good player. There's no two ways about it. There's a good lad in there and a good player.
He'll be better for this experience. But the thing, all the focus is obviously on Furlong because he's a young kid. And, a lot of the goals did come down his side and Balassi gave him a torrid time. But Yun, on the other side, had just as tough a time with Zaha.
His game seems to have gone backwards.
Well, no, I'm going to say, for exactly the same reason. Because the winger in front of him, Matt Phillips, was constantly going inside,
wasn't he? Yeah,
because he's a right winger.
Yeah.
So he was
hell of a goal, though, in fairness.
Hell of a goal, but he was always in field because when Yun had the ball and looked up, all he saw ahead of him was Palace players and grass.
Yeah.
And when the Palace players were running towards him, Phillips had to come from infield to come and cover.
Yeah.
So neither of the fullbacks had any cover. So it's really easy to say.
And equally, the Palace defenders knew that any time Phillips wanted to do anything useful, he had to
go inside.
Yeah,
it was so predictable.
Yeah, it was.
He kept getting in crossing positions.
Yeah.
But you just knew where he was.
But
going.
that was. I just don't understand. It's 2 games running. He's played him on the left.
Like you say, that Sunderland game and the 2 games after it, the big difference between Redknapp's team and Ramsey's team was that we had Phillips on the right and he was taking the fullback on and he was delivering the cross. I think he got 4 assists in 3 games.
Yeah.
And the Fur injury is unfortunate because
Yeah.
I think he really knew what to do with Fur. And he hasn't played well all season, but then that game at Sunderland, I thought, yes, he's in his position and he was great that night. And Phillips on the right, I thought, I can see a semblance of a plan here. So the Fur injury is unfortunate, but to move Phillips, why would you do that?
No. Sorry, Chris, go on. Obviously, you want to get someone out of your soul.
I was just thinking about Thur, and it's hard to imagine how we will stay up now. And it's also hard to try and think of which players we all have in the Championship who are now starting for us.
Well, I think next season it's just going to be a complete clear out again, and we restart and we come back and
again
and everything. Now, thank you for Burble Media for giving us a chance to do this podcast. And now we're going to try and do the cheerful end of it.
All right.
Right, we're playing Everton. Why are we going to beat Everton? Because I've been on Twitter and people said, we'll do this. We can do this. We can do this on Saturday. I'm not seeing it that way because I think they're quite a decent side and we could struggle badly in midfield. But tell me I'm wrong.
Well, it's on Sunday, but I think...
turn up on Saturday, you're not going to win.
Yeah, it's on Sunday for the reason that they are in deepest, darkest...
I just did a Fraser, didn't I? I just did a massive Fraser. I apologise, dear listeners. I do apologise. Of course it's Sunday.
Well, they're in deepest, darkest Russia on Thursday night, and I'm hoping that it goes to extra time penalties and their flight gets delayed.
Yeah, that's 1-1. Carry on. Okay. Even if there's a civil war going on. Crack on.
I think they'll get knocked out on Thursday.
But yeah, I think that's probably our biggest hope. They're knackered.
But what else?
Well, until on the Everton point, until I think they beat Newcastle at the weekend, everyone's beating Newcastle, and we're going to have to beat Newcastle. I think until then they'd only won one of their 6 or 7 Sunday games after a European trip. So there's a reason. And Kiev is not easy to get back from at the moment. I've been with work and it was unpleasant.
Sean Wright Phillips might not be playing.
The other thing is, we said we needed 5 wins last week, and and Palace wasn't one of my 5, so those 5 are still there.
I don't think we'll lose on Sunday, but I can see it being a draw. I think we obviously desperately need a win, but like Clive said, I've seen a statistic where clubs play in Europa League when Spurs were still in it as well, and they played the next game, and they very, very rarely get a good result afterwards. And to be fair, our last 2 home games, we've been a little bit unlucky, but we're playing against top sides. So I think we'll get a result against them. I think it'll be touch and go. It'll be a win.
Yeah. It's got to.
Clive, how do we change it? Who do we bring in? Who do we take out? What should the mindset be?
Well, like I said, I think we'd all pick Vargas. I'd pick Vargas. I'd pick Vargas actually ahead of Austin.
Right.
Because that's where he plays for Chile. Sanchez plays behind Vargas.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Vargas plays up front.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't drop Austin.
Yeah. Sorry.
Maverick.
I did wonder.
Maverick. No, yeah, I'd pick Vargas and Austin. But whatever we do, we've got to win. We've got to win West Ham, Everton, and Newcastle.
We need legs, don't we? Let's be honest. We need legs.
There's no pace in the team.
He's not going to come back from Reading, is he?
He's free agent. That guy.
Oh, is he?
Can you believe it?
Anyway, enough of the jokes. So against you bring Vargas in defensively.
I would just get as much pace in the team as possible, because that's one of the big things at Palace on set was not only that we were defending against pace and we didn't have any, but it's very difficult to get out of your own half and get the defence pushed up the pitch if you've got no pace to carry the ball down.
So Hoylett on the left then.
Is he quick?
Quicker than most of the players we've got.
Okay.
Would you start Barton
Well, exactly. Well said. That was my next point.
I would start Barton
against the team he supports?
Yeah.
I don't think that matters with Joey. I don't think.
Sadly, yes. You would start him, and we'll beat Everton with him, and we'll beat Newcastle with him, and we'll beat West Ham with him, and we'll win at West Brom with him, and we will need a win at Leicester on the final day to stay up, and his head will implode, and he'll get sent off, and he'll let us down again.
So don't book tickets for Leicester, but enjoy every game beforehand. Do you think so?
No, not really. But I'm just saying. How many times does he have to let you down?
That would really play of our emotions if it went that far.
I mean, the thing is, I believe on Sunday, back in the room, that we can do something, but a draw isn't good enough. We need to win, in my opinion, because we need. Why is it as well, right? Sunderland have sacked the manager today, as we all know, and they'll probably get bounced. Why do we get the freaking manager bounce thing?
Well, I'm not sure Sunderland will get the new manager back, because Sunderland are another club that have changed their manager a lot, and the problem is still there. There's a drinking.
Along with that continue.
There is a drinking culture at Sunderland.
Everton.
Adam Johnson. Well, read The Secret Footballer. There is a drinking culture at Sunderland, of which the Adam Johnson incident is just a product. So I don't think it matters. I'm not sure that they'll get any new manager.
I think it's the Daily Star here.
No, where to go read it? It's,
I think Sunderland. You can file Sunderland under us. I don't think. Aston Villa, they've always had the players. They've had a strike force. Agbonlahor hasn't become a useless player overnight. Benteke the same, and they're starting to fire now. Sherwood's, it's not rocket science. He's got them, and he's exploiting the pace. He's got them playing. But I don't think QPR or Sunderland have got the players for people to come in and suddenly make them world beaters overnight.
Do we think it's between QPR, Burnley, and Sunderland for 2 spots?
I think it's hard. To be honest, I've got this. I was going to do this as the RSM, but I might as well do it now. I've done the whole fixtures thing. I'm not going to go.
Hold that paper so tightly.
I
thought you actually made your will on the way in.
Leicester are 1 point behind us now?
No.
2?
3,
19 is that? They've got 19.
No,
they've got 22.
They're
But Sunderland have got West Ham away, Newcastle home, Palace home, Arsenal away, Stoke away, Southampton home, Everton away, Leicester home, Chelsea away. I mean, there's some winnable games in there, but they're not brilliant. But I think if you look at Hull's fixtures, I could see them not getting a point until the end of the season, even though they've got Chelsea at home, Swansea away, Southampton away, Liverpool at home, Palace away, Arsenal at home, Burnley at home, Spurs away, and Man United at home. I mean, that is by far the toughest running of any of the bottom clubs. Obviously, we need to close the 6-point gap and the goal difference before we could even think about targeting
we need
them.
to win 5 games, don't we?
Yeah. But I think Leicester, it's going to be tricky. Burnley, you know, if we were sitting pretty in 13th, I'd be cheering Burnley every inch of the way, believe me, because I think they fully deserve to stay up. They've approached it in the right way. I think Sean Dyche.
Did you not know from watching the first 5 minutes of that game on Saturday they were going to win? Because I frigging did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not just saying this. You can ask Fraser because I even text him. 5 minutes into the game, I'm watching it and they're going to win. You can just tell.
Well, fair play to them. But
you can't depend on the team to get you.
No, you can't, and I can't bring myself to slag them off because I think they've done it in exactly the right way.
And coming full circle to our team selection at Palace.
Well, they were better than us last season already. So.
Yeah, but coming full selection to our team selection at Palace, you know what the Burnley team's going to be every week. You know what system they're going to play, and the Burnley players know it as well. We don't. We no bloody idea.
Don't think half the players do sometimes where they play.
Right.
But Burnley have just played often the same starting 11 for massive long stretches of games. I think over Christmas, when you're meant to be resting players and rotating players, Burnley picked the same starting 11 8 games in a row or something like that. They know their system.
Well,
and if it's not good enough, then it's not good enough.
Well, that's
but
the thing.
This is how we're going to play.
If you put the Burnley squad up for sale, every player in our squad up for sale at the beginning of the season, then I'm pretty sure you'd get a lot more money for our players than you would theirs. But the difference is that they're, like you said, they're being managed well. They know their jobs. They know where they've got to be. They've coped with the injuries they've had. They've got players coming back now, like Vokes, for instance. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them. They've got a tough run in as well. But the difference is that they in these big games, these must-win games, they are actually winning them.
But what Burnley don't have that we do have, and we've all got to miss. But Everton game. We end it, whatever way it ends, it's the international break, right?
Everton.
Hang on, say international break, they'll be off to Dubai again, for a couple of weeks. It's like...
Yeah, that worked well, didn't it?
Yeah, so it's like, it doesn't matter what we do. We'll get a trip to Dubai. I mean, Burnley don't go to Dubai. I mean, that annoys me.
Yeah, well, it comes back to what I was saying about Palace, sort of earning the right is... We behave like a Premier League team. It's like, it says Premier League team on the tin, so we'll start buying players and going off to Dubai and stuff. Whereas you have to earn your right and solidify to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like London Young lad back to Huddersfield, banner from Liverpool.
Odd.
That was a strange
really
move.
Odd.
It's like other teams do this. Let's try it. Sorry, Chris. Before I rudely interrupted you, were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say Fernandes, his first win in charge as chairman was against Everton, wasn't it? Patrick Adjumang and Tommy Smith, and somehow that team's better than the one we have now.
That was a great day. I mean, going back, Clive, a question I've got to ask you on Saturday. How good was our fans on Saturday? Because on the TV, we came across really, really well. We made the Palace Ultras look pretty crap, which is not bad.
Palace were pretty quiet on Saturday. Maybe it was too easy for them, I don't know. But, the QPR, like I said, the atmosphere changed when Redknapp left. I didn't enjoy going to the away games because it was quite nasty and... Yeah, it was getting nasty and people were starting on each other. But the Redknapp departure, whether people have just resigned themselves to us going down or whatever, but the atmosphere is actually really good in the away end. People are having a great time. Well, not a great time, but
there's a lot of gallows humour in there, wasn't there? Basically, and I don't know. I think you're right about the. It's as well as a bit of resignation as well. Sometimes football fans, I mean, it's your classic, you go 6-0 down, we're going to win 7-6 sort of job, isn't it? There was part of that. But we did, I mean, I was at work having to write the report and do all this, that and the other, and the fans were tremendous, so hats off to them. And I think what we haven't really touched on yet is the goal of the season if it had been scored by Rooney.
Wayne Rooney will win the goal of the season this season.
Yeah, whatever.
For a goal that hasn't yet been scored.
Yeah,
he will definitely win.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest. I'd have put Phillips up there. I'd put our goal that happened with Charlie Austin, and then obviously their goal as well, which is pretty decent. But obviously we're not big clubs. There's been a lot of good goals. What I'm saying is, if a Chelsea player, a Man United player, or one of the top 6 had scored that goal, then the competition would be done, dusted, finished by now. 43 yards,
they'd been replaying that on Sky Sports every 5 seconds. Because it's a QPR player, it'll probably, might scrape in third. But I just think, Clive, I'm very jealous of you that you were there. Although it's probably the best.
Do you want me to tell you?
Oh no, you didn't, did you?
Yeah, I left 30 seconds before.
Oh, for flipping heck's sake.
I've got to be honest with you.
No.
I've been to Palace millions of time, and that ground's a disgrace. And the money they charge for away fans. I mean, Alison Jameson, who's a lovely person who's been on the podcast a few times, posted a picture of the female toilets, an absolute relic back to the 70s. It's just a disgrace. They shouldn't charge what they do.
But we charge more for a worse away end.
I don't care about that. Anyway,
But that goal,
I'm a bit of a hypocrite. No,
that goal was
maybe.
that's got to be the best consolation goal
It's
that's
such a
ever been
shame.
scored.
It's
isn't
such a shame it didn't mean anything.
Yeah, but
imagine a winner or an equaliser from 43 yards.
I mean, but it was absolutely incredible. I mean, I was just.
He meant it as well.
Well,
That's
of course he did.
He
He didn't have anything else. To be honest, he's probably so hacked off at being starved, having to cut in all the time. He just thought, sod this, I'm just going to go for
That's
it.
what it looked like.
So he has got that in his locker, though. He has, Blackpool and that. He has got that sort of thing in his
absolutely.
locker.
well, against Arsenal, he hit one. And it beat the keeper, and it went an inch wide. But that had beaten he has got a shot on him. But I'm like you, having watched it again, I think he was just so sick of the whole situation. He just thought, "Oh fuck this! I'm going to have a crack."
Oops.
Sorry, David. Right, we're coming to the hours into the show, but before we do that, we haven't done a score prediction for Saturday. We should really. So starting with you, Mendes.
What I genuinely think the score's going to be.
That's what you're here for.
1-1.
But you can lie. It doesn't matter. He's already sworn to our exit certificate. No one's going to listen. Everyone else has committed suicide.
We can bleep that out, maybe. We'll,
No, it's fine. Leave it in there.
Make a note of
It's
the time.
No,
I think-
don't. Then we'll start being professional. Then we'll lose loads of
I
people.
think we'll be winning 1-0 and then Everton will score. We'll concede the 7th goal that we have after 90 minutes this season.
Thank you, Mr. Happy Bollocks.
Right, well, I'll be leaving after 88 minutes in that case then. God. I'm trying to be positive.
There's pain in your face, Chris.
There is. I think if we put Phillips on the right and, I don't know, we somehow come up with some magic. I'm going to go 2-1 QPR.
I suspect Mendes has got it right.
Oh no, don't say that.
Yeah, because we don't have the fitness to when we tire late in games. I can see us coming out and going.
But they're going to be knackered, though.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to say that we'll win because we have to win. What would disappoint me is if we go back to we're talking about Vargas and whatever, but if we go back to the knocking it long to Bobby Zamora thing this Sunday, Everton's big strength in defence is big, tall, physical centre-backs, and their big weakness is big, tall, physical centre-backs because they can't run, there's no pace. So if we're knocking it long to Zamora all day, then I think it's going to be a long afternoon. I think Chris is probably right. I'm going to say that we'll win 1-0.
Paul? I think I don't know. I'm hosting. I have no
Brilliant.
idea.
Well done.
None of us know, Paul. None of us know.
Exactly. No, I think we could. Did you know I did went there? I was trying not to burp. I think we've got. If we can get the Sunderland team kind of everyone in the right positions, right, get that going. The ground works, and we can somehow pretend we have got pace when we haven't. We can do whatever we want. We can win 2-0. But it will all depend on how we react after they score, because when Palace scored that first goal on Saturday, game over.
First goal is very important. I think we've got to score first to stand any chance.
But we've also got to learn to keep going if someone else, scores against us. You've got to keep going. The heads, it was so obvious, and you were there, that our heads dropped so quickly because Palace picked up on it straight away and we're straight away bang on us again. And you can't.
I thought it was obvious before they scored. I said to the people I was sitting with about 3 minutes before, I said, this is a matter of time. Because it just looked like all of the other London derbies we'd played, where Palace got into the game, got solid, got us figured out, and then started picking at us. And they could have scored. They could have scored from a corner a couple of minutes before they did score, and it had just been coming. So, and then, like you say, once the goal went in, it's heads down. Another talking point, but we're finishing, so we can't do it. But
No, you can do.
Lack of leaders in the team. I think Corker was captain at the weekend and somebody else was different captain before that. But they were getting so deep. And again, that's lack of pace. But they were dropping and Palace were pushing. There was nobody there doing the Alan McDonald, get 10 yards down the pitch or I'm going to nut you sort of thing. There was a lack of leadership in the team. So like you say, first goal is very important. If Everton go 1-0 up after 10 minutes or something, I can just see the whole ground, the whole team sinking. But
yeah, well, hopefully that is not.
To be fair, I said weeks ago, but I'm an idiot, so I know that Charlie Austin should be captain because he's the most constant player that'll be out there, and he does actually give a shit about what he's doing.
He wouldn't drag a defence up though, would he? We miss Dunny. We're missing.
I don't know
Dunny.
if that matters. I mean, Shearer was captain for years. He seemed to do a decent enough job. I don't go with this. It has to be a defender all the time. You can actually make a forward a captain, and they can't do a relative. You can make a goalkeeper a captain. Pat Jennings did it for years for Northern Ireland, which I've seen regularly, and you can do it, but. You need people to stand up and say, "Give me that frigging armband. I'm going to wear it and wear it with pride and not smack someone in the nuts and get themselves sent off."
Well, on the Saturday, you need, when it went to 2-0 to concede, that's such a shambolic third straight away. When it goes to 2-0, you need people standing there and saying, right, whatever happens, we get to half-time like this. We don't concede a third. The third goal was the most shambolic of the lot, and it was 2 minutes after the second.
But there's been way too
set up by a bloke with one leg, basically.
Yeah.
Or was that the second? I don't know. It went so quickly. That was the third.
That was the third.
The thing is, the sad thing about it is to be fair, and I said it last week in the pub, no one's had to play well to beat us. And no matter how you spin that, that's a fact. And that's the worrying fact about it all. But ours ended the show before my voice goes for some reason. Chris, have you got anything you'd like to say? Any rallying call to your fellow QPR fans that are listening? Anything that you want to inspire us on or talk about anything else?
Not particularly, but I'm looking forward to Clive, so I'm just going to hand straight over to him.
Well, Sean Wright Phillips sent this tweet out shortly before we came on air. Are we allowed to, do we come on air? Are we on air?
Yes, we are.
You can do what you want.
You can do what you like in your own time.
Steady.
Okay, family show. Sean Wright Phillips says, I'll read some of the replies out. There's not many we can actually read out under the new swearing policy.
No, don't worry about that. I'm sure David will forgive us tomorrow. He's a forgiving guy. I know that for a fact.
Well, maybe just, effing this and blah, blah, that.
Sean Wright Phillips says, "Hey all!" Exclamation mark. "What's your week like? Question mark. I'm going to be giving you a short daily insight into mine, starting today! Exclamation mark. Share. Chris, how's your week?"
How's my week? Am I replying to Sean?
Yeah, tell Sean.
Well, it was fine until about 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon.
Variation on a theme. First reply he got after literally 2 seconds, unless it involves you buggering off and not coming back, I'm not interested.
What was the one after that?
Try learning how to take a legal throw-in with a picture of him on Saturday taking a throw-in from a yard and a half on the pitch.
Bad.
Those white lines are difficult to see at Palace, to be fair.
Is there any positive ones from someone called Ian or anything like that?
No, somebody points out that the link he's posted where you can go to share your experience of the week is broken. So he is literally useless.
Oh, no.
Really?
Oh, dear.
How much enjoyment I get from my week is in many ways dictated to by the performance of my team, QPR. How about you, Sean?
See, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Any non-QPR fans
Who
on
did
there?
that?
Who was it? At Monkey Picks.
No, they're quite funny. I follow them on Twitter.
Hi, Sean. Top weekend, thanks. Had a little jaunt to Croydon on Saturday. Cost the best part of a ton, but never mind, eh?
That's very good.
Who's that?
Rob Godardino. He's a good one to follow.
That's brilliant.
Another one. Thank you so much, Sean. We love you. Crystal Palace FC.
I imagine yours has been pretty good, Sean. Earning £60,000 a week to do a shit impression of a footballer.
Is that you by any chance?
No. I did send him one, but it wasn't as good as some of these.
Well, even his dad, because I was doing the coverage, his dad was working for BT Sport, Ian Wright, and I said, "So how are you feeling? Sean's been named and he said, "Be honest, I feel quite nervous." And I was thinking, well, yeah, that quite mirrors the feeling that I've got as well, maybe for different reasons.
But Ian Wright's always loved QPR for many reasons.
Yeah.
As we all know. So,
I just got a message from someone saying we should have kept Jamie Mackey. He's running the show tonight for Reading versus Bradford in the FA Cup.
Don't start.
Wow.
right, Chris, you're ours end of the show.
Well, I mean, I was sort of going to go with the fixtures, blah,
You can
blah,
come back
but
to this
okay,
one,
but there's a
mate,
bit, I have got a bit of news to cheer everyone up, though. Harry Redknapp's knee, ladies and gentlemen, is better
Doesn't require surgery.
after a bit of physio.
Who would have thought it?
Yeah, he said,
Don't do the impression.
he said, I still need a bit of surgery, but it's better after a bit of physio. So my question is, have we got any physios at QPR that maybe could have helped him out, maybe massaged it? Anyway, he's ready for a return to football.
Already?
Yes, he's ready and looking for
Maybe
work.
Kevin will leave Chris's side and drive him up to Wearside, which is one of the longest trips in football, and he can take them down.
To be
instead
fair,
of
he
us.
didn't take the Newcastle job. He would at the time, remember, because it was too far.
Yeah,
Even though the Newcastle board live in Whetstone.
But he was going to take the Ukraine job.
yeah,
definitely.
exactly.
But Putin put his foot down on that one, I bet.
Yeah.
So,
It's gone all political.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry. I'm just.
And interesting, my Russian comment earlier on. I mean, you never know. By Saturday, it could be back in Russia, so I might be proved right. Sunday. See, I'm doing it now. Oh dear.
Somehow I feel better. Right, my hours into the show.
I was going to say that Harry has published his second of probably 4 or 5 articles, I suspect, this season in the Daily Mail today under the Martin Samuel byline. So look out.
Oh God, yeah.
Two reasons I won't read that: Daily Mail and Martin Samuel. Anyway, my hours into the show is an odd one. As always, I have to issue apologies, as I often do, and I apologise profoundly to the Australian Oz. I was supposed to last week mention where they're meeting up at the pub, but I was in such a bad mood I forgot. Yeah. So I do apologise.
So where were they meeting anyway? Just as there's probably some bloke been wandering around the outback for the last week trying to find a boozer. But
wish it was Shawbright Phillips.
Yeah.
I apologise. And the other thing is that. Has anyone noticed? Are we a natural football club sometimes? I do wonder. Because however bad things get at QPR, our fan base gets funnier. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, as we went down through the leagues, the humour was brilliant. It was kind of like, we don't take ourselves seriously, which always makes you laugh because everyone, from being a club that was once loved and everyone's second team, that everyone in London would go and watch Rangers if nothing else was on because it was its team battling against the odds, going out with buckets, fighting relegation, blah, blah, blah. I'm not playing Philly Bingo, by the way, sorry everyone. But then we got hated because we spent loads of money and then we went backwards to this sort of thing that we don't actually take ourselves seriously, do we? Let's be honest. Our fans are friggin' amazing. I mean, to hear what they did on Saturday and the way they behaved is just brilliant, to be honest with you, because lots of other teams, we turn seats up and throwing them on the pitch and going absolutely mental and trying to get to the home fans.
West Brom.
Newcastle.
Yep. Our lot, just make a song up. And that's how we're going to end the show tonight.
Always finish on a song.
Always finish on a song. Anybody else got anything else to say that stop any... Thank you so much, by the way, that everyone who listened to this podcast, we hope you enjoyed it, and please don't reach for the razor blades. We're going to stay up, because you are going to stay up.
We're the Rangers, the mighty Rangers, we never win away.
The QPR podcast is a West 12 Media and Burble Media production.
QPR, QPR, 3 Rangers.